Yes, guys, and welcome from me. This is Championship Manager 0102, King of the Dugout, Part 1. Now, you're now thinking, what the hell is King of the Dugout? K.O.T.D for short. So this is a project that I've been working on recently, and you're gonna be familiar with it when I start explaining it. You'll remember there's a series that I'm doing videos on called the DTL, Dream Team League, which is based from the forums. One of the guys on the forums runs it. He's been doing it for years. It's fucking great. I love it. So I decided, I've been wanting to do this for ages. I set one up myself, purely on a much more minimal scale within Facebook. I'm part of a Facebook group called the Amphitheatre of CM football, something like that. Amphitheatre, the old arena, the old Championship Manager 0102 arena, amphitheatre. That's, and I said this before, I think the link is in the description. So I decided to put it out there, see who was up for it, follow the same sort of principle as the DTL. Now, fortunately, I've got the great Mark Whitaker working with me on this, and boy, this is a two-man job. How Mark does it, how the other Mark on the forums does this on his own is fucking beyond me. But there's so much work involved. So, first of all, we've got 14 players, right? 14 players. I was looking to get at least 8. To reach 14 was just absolutely staggering. And the great thing about these players, right, is they don't fuck about. They do not fuck about at all. There's a few things I've implemented that are going to be different to the DTL. My own sort of twist on it, for example. So we've already done the auctions. Not all the auctions. We're halfway through the auctions. We're on to auction 6. And I'm not putting any deadlines. I was going to, in order to hurry things up. But in all honesty, we got one set of auctions done within a day. I had the next set up. So, the first thing is, instead of somebody choosing a team, I've let them choose their own team name. We'll go through them in a moment. They've all got their own team names. They've called it whatever they want. And they've got £50 million to spend. Now, we're all going to start, not we're, because I'm not in it. They're all going to start in the first division, ODB. So the second tier. So there's 14 players. So as you know, only 3 of them are going to be able to get promoted. And they're all starting with a blank squad. And basically, I've renamed somewhat a random team in the division because stadium and resources have no effect on this. They've all got 50 million. So we did auction 1, exactly in the Mark style. This is where, I'm getting confused here. I'll call it forums. Because when I say the word Mark, that's the guy that's working with me on this, Mark Whitaker. So the forum style, we followed that suit. Auction 1, 25 players. Everybody bids for 5 players. With the highest bidder getting that player. In the event of a joint tie, they have to rebid. We've done auction 2, auction 3, auction 4, auction 5. So, let's go through who's what. So let's look at our first person then. Al Mo. His team name is Soylent Green. And as you can see there, you can see who he purchased in auction 1, who he got in auction 2, 3, 4, 5, how much he spent, 25.2, remaining 24.8. So far, so good for Big Al. We're halfway through. He's still got about half of his budget, and he's got 7 players. So I think he'll be relatively pleased. Matt Collier-Brown, his Dark Destroyers. Matt's last auction. He had a great auction. Matt, of course, is from the forums. A Scarlet 1. He's got just over 10 million left, and he'll be really pleased with his last auction. I think he was a little bit gutted with Lillian Thuram. Not gutted that he got him, gutted because he asked me what was the next bid, and it was something like £5 million. Because I think I expected Thuram to go for about £9-10 million. So he's got himself a fairly good squad. Over to William McGregor, Glasgow United. As you can see, he got nobody during auction 2, but he had a cracking auction 1 where he landed, of course, Joe Cole. Now, Guardiola's also an interesting buy. But now let me remind you guys, right, that this is going to work on the same principle as the forums. At the end of the season, we will recreate a new save as our season 2. So it's all about players for season 1. Doesn't really matter. I mean, Joe Cole's a great player, don't get me wrong. Great player, season 1 equally, but he gets better with time. We haven't got time on our hands. Over to Lee Sharples. Now, Lee Sharples, he had a brutal first few auctions, and as you can see, £37 million spent, 13 remaining. It don't look as bad now because the last 2 auctions he's only spent £2 million, but before that he was on 35 million spent after 3 auctions. But he's brought some absolute bangers. He really has. And he'll look to get a few more. And what's 11 players? How many players are they really looking at? Starting on a blank squad, I feel you're going to need about 15, 16 at least. You know, and well, let's go on to Trevor Choi. Now, Trevor Choi, £38.9 million remaining. Very tactical is our Chinaman. Am I allowed to say that? He's brought in 5 players. He's got his 5-a-side team there. And the fact that he's got money, right, I think some people underestimate what players might come available on the auctions. Now, Mark Whittaker has compiled all the auctions for me, and I shit you not, the amount of work that's got involved in that. 1 season alone, think about it, right? 10 auctions, 25 players, that's 250 players. He's already got the auctions ready for auctions 7, 8, 9 and 10. 6 is currently live. Let me also point out, Mark has also got the auctions, 10 auctions, ready for season 2, 3, 4, 5. He's got 5 seasons in total, 1,250 players. He's worked his fucking tits off. And he deserves so much credit because it's not easy. Over to Philippe Durala. Now, Durala, well, he is one fucking skinflint, isn't he? He's brought in, and I've got to give him credit here, 4 players, and they're not the shittiest players in the world. He's spent a mingy £4 million. £46 million still to spend for Philippe Durala, his Sunday Strikers. That's his name. I should have pointed out, sorry. Trevor Choi, his name is Pageant Rangers. Is it Pageant Rangers? And Lee Sharples is Sharps Shooters. Over to Ross Horn now. Ross Horn, Dunthorpe. I think it's Dunthorpe Ironworks. £33.1 million spent. He's brought in some good players. He asked me the question, what Matt asked me about Turam. He asked me how much was the next bid on Nesta. I think it was about £8 or £9 million. He's brought in some... I mean, I feel he overpaid on Carboni, if the truth be told. I do feel he bought it. But then that being said, I thought he got a good deal in Yakubu there in auction 1. Didn't land anybody in auction 3. Over to Miga Dante, also known as Mike Evangelou, but his team name are known as Trump Towers. Now, as you can see, auction 1, there's a little star next to Ronaldo 9. That star it went to a rebid. He landed him, and he got a bid of £5 million joint, which would have been a fucking bargain. He had to rebid along with the rival manager, who went 6.5, and Miguel went 7 million and landed the fat fuck. Willie Sagnall's also a good signing. Harry Kewell is a fucking stunning signing, and a couple of cheap ones during auction 5 as well. Still got £20+ million still to go. Stuart Danton, D-Generation, started out with a lovely deal for Maldini. I think 6 million for Maldini, might be 33, but as I said, it's all about the first season. He's picked up Patrick Kluivert there as well, as you can see. I think Caesar's also a great signing. So Mr. Danton has still got nearly half of his value, half of his budget, and he's landed 8 players. He's now got to be really, really specific about what he's going for. Sam Wheatley. Well, this is Sam Wheatley. He's got 2.4 million remaining. He's landed 12 players. Truth be told here, I think he's got himself a good, decent squad. Not disputing that at all. Etex Berry is a great player. Ugo Ekyog's a great player. Tim Howard's a great goalkeeper, especially for 600 grand. I feel he overpaid for Eric Bakker. Now, somebody else asked me my views on Eric Bakker, and I think Bakker was a great player. I think he's great on the ODB, and I would say Sam feels the same, probably why he went such a big amount. I think he's overpaid personally. I think Finidi's also a little bit overpaid at 4.8. But do you know what? You know, from his perspective, he's got in some quality. Rafa van der Vaart, again, a bit like the Joe Cole. Van der Vaart really steps up from season 2. So he's got to hope, really, he gets a good first season. But, you know, he's still got 5 more auctions. He can't bid much because his total bids cannot exceed his remaining budget, which limits him. But this is where the likes of Philippe and Trey over here can both really swoop in because they've got these big fucking balances. So the best of luck there, Sam's Bastards. Now, when I told everybody, give us a team name, I always use as an example. So when I said to, I think Matt, I said, so call it whatever you want, mate. Call it Matt's Bastards if you want. Lee, call it Lee's Bastards. I always use it as an example. When I said it to Sam, Sam goes, yeah, go on then, that'll go. Sam's Bastards. Over to Mark Rutgers, all the way from Holland. Let's have a look at his lineup. 40 million still to spend, just over. He's brought in only 5 players. He's picked up a couple of good signings, in all fairness. I think Guerrero and Melito are some good signings. He's got some work to do, though. I mean, Helton's a good goalkeeper as well. So, fingers crossed for the Dutch Warriors. That is his name, the Dutch Warriors. Over to one of our favourites. Now, I'm making this next guy our favourite, right? And I'll explain why. This is Noel from the forums, Perfetico Madrid. This is Trunky from the forums, and I'm tipping him because he's going to have a lot more experience with this sort of game. So £9.9 million to spend, but as you can see, there's a little bit of a pattern going on there with the old 4.2s and the 12.3s. Van Bommel, Walter Samuel, he's got some real good players. I feel what he's going to do now for the next 5, he's going to utilise that remaining budget in getting some squad fillers and just finalise his setup. So we'll see. Over to, by the way, Perfetico Madrid. Over to Jesper Ronman, AC Runny Mansion. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but look at that. 15 players, and he's still got just under £10 million available to spend. 15 players. Now, it's funny the way I think Jesper's worked this, because I feel he's done this brilliantly in the sense he's got himself a nice squad now, and it is a squad, 15 players. He'll be looking to get specific players. The only thing, I don't think he's got anybody as a star player in that batch there, which is fair enough. I mean, I think Gareth Southgate's a good signing. I feel an agent, Giuseppe Signori, is an interesting one. Neil Lennon could work. There's no one that jumps out the page, but he's got a nice balance. He's got a nice balance indeed. And finally, Gary Hanks, North London is red. That's his team, £9 million to spend. He's been in a bit of a busy bee. I feel he overpaid on Igor Stimac, personally. Makaleli was a good signing. Filippo Inzaghi, that took a rebid. There was another rebid somewhere. I think I've gone past it. Salgado was an interesting one. Now, something interesting. So he brought Savo Milosevic in auction 2. Now, the bizarre thing, right, is Gary didn't get anybody in auction 1. And Milosevic didn't go in auction 1. Nobody bid for Milosevic in auction 1. Believe it or not. So he could have technically got him for £1 million, but instead he went for others, didn't get them, went for Milosevic auction 2 and got him. You can see he got Paul Agostino. He got 2 strikers there. I don't think he expected to get Milosevic. Salgado, same sort of thing with him. He didn't go in auction 4 and Gary picked him up in auction 5. So, there you see. So now what we'll do very, very quickly is let's just start a new game very, very quickly. And everybody is put into the correct place. Everyone's put into the correct place. I mean, I feel right, and I've said this before with the DTL, the auctions on this are the most exciting part. You know, I ain't gonna lie, it's a lot of fucking work. It's an awful lot of work having to compile in respect of not, the pulling in the bids, working out who's done it, and I'm getting a lot of support from Mark Whitaker, who's every so often he's throwing the auctions up, he's putting pictures to add to it. We're going to follow the same suit with CPU bids. So for those of you that don't know, for those of you that are in this game, CPU bids at the end of the season, we will have a system in place where CPU, the computer, will make a bid for up to 5 players. And it'll probably be a good bid in order to entice you to part with your players and give you some money for next season's kitty. You'll also get prize money here, there and everywhere, to be confirmed, that is. So, let's just do this a minute. And what we'll do, we'll just take over Palace, just for argument's sake, and then we'll have a look at Division 1, shall we? Let's have a look at Division 1. Let's have a quick look who they deem. Let's have a start then with... would you believe I've loaded up the wrong one? What an absolute dickhead. I've loaded up the Lustenhoff, haven't I? Oh, that was fucking tragic, weren't it? Absolutely tragic indeed. We cannot have that. We do not want the Lustenhoff. Fuck that Lustenhoff stuff. Do not agree with that Lustenhoff. That is for a different game. Let's, in fact, and just for quickness, I have already created one, so I'm just going to restore it. Right, we fucked up there, didn't we? Okay, so... let's go and have a look who they deem So AC Run Mansion, if that's how you... So there you see, so they're putting Signori as a star man, Lennon and Gareth Southgate. It's got a good looking setup, 2 goalies already. Let me remind you of something, guys, that the unlocked formations are as follows. 4-4-2, you can have the, just like what they do on the forums, arrows can be anything you want, but these players must stay as is. No player instructions, they will remain as is, and you can tell me as and when any arrows, who your team lineup is, and what your team instructions are. So that's one unlocked formation. The other unlocked formation, there's 3, is that one there. Again, the arrows can be all over. And the final unlocked formation is a 4-5-1. So that, you know, they are the 3 unlocked. Now, question is, right, are people buying based on a formation? Personally, I wouldn't. I'd be just looking to see what I can get. So, yeah, decent setup there from Jesper. Over to Degeneration, Stuart Danton. Well, Maldini, the key man over here. Kluivert's a great signing as well, but Kluivert, you know, he hasn't got, I mean, some saves load up different, of course. This is not official at the minute. This is subject to change. So if you just hope that the injury prone stays down there. Maldini is an absolute monster. Absolute monster. But he can work out by that what he needs. Over to the Dark Destroyers, Matt Collier-Brown. It's looking good. It's shaping up really, really well. Let's have a look now. There's a player that I looked at over here. Was it Rapic? No, it weren't. It was this guy, I think. Goran Drilic. I think Matt... Oh, was it a free transfer? Or 100 grand or something like that? I think he's a fucking great player. Absolute great. Djalmenia. We all know who Djalmenia is, if that's how you pronounce it. He's as like Nicholas Anelka. If a player goes AWOL, you're just going to have to fucking deal with it. But I don't think Djalmenia is that bad on this version, in all honesty. Lima. Now... right, okay. Now, that was random, because I did another test. I said this to Matt, actually. I said I did a test, and Lima started injured. This must be the test. Because I checked that. So, Lima, I think he got cheap as well. He's brought in some absolute bangers. Jesper Gronkia, that was an interesting one, because he got him for 5 million. Nobody else bid. I think he was a little bit disgusted with himself. Over to Ross Horns, Dunthorpe Ironworks. Decent setup. As I said, I feel he overpaid with Carboni, but you know what? You never know. You really never know. I didn't realise he got Bonanno, or I didn't pay attention, shall I say. Nesta. What a player, Nesta. I feel that every team needs a real marquee player, and he's got him. Mark Rutgers, the Dutch Warriors. Well, we know he needs a little bit of work. He needs a lot of work, don't he? No doubt about it. We said about Guerrero. Guerrero's a great player. Well done there. Over to the next person, Glasgow United. That is William McGregor, isn't it? You can. Right, do you know what? Right, I noticed when he brought Bjorkland, I thought, well, that's Rangers, isn't it? Billy Dodds was Scottish, weren't he? Klos was Rangers, weren't he? I thought it was quite interesting. So good idea here. Unless he's going to try and merge some Celtic players, which I think I've just sworn at him there. Still needs, obviously, he definitely needs a little bit of work, don't he? No doubt about that. And I've just gone wrong. Let's just go back. Let's do it this way. Sorry, that's Glasgow. Let's over to North London is red. Gary Hanks. It's shaping up well. Someone said you've already got 3 strikers. I don't see a problem with that, because let me also tell you guys that after auction 10 is concluded, we are going to have a little window where you fuckers can all liaise with each other. Exactly what the forums do. P2P deals. So there'll be a few days where Gary might liaise with somebody and say, look, got a spare striker, but there's no point in him. Well, he could sell him, but he's going to probably want to do a little bit of part X maybe. Agostino. Now, I think he picked up Agostino. We said he picked him up on a free. Now, this is interesting, because I remember checking him on one save, and he had an injury prone of 20. And he's got a 1 there. Now, you know, that's really fucking interesting. That's bizarre. But he's actually got himself a good setup there. Iker Casillas is a great goalkeeper. Absolute great. So, yeah, there will be a little bit of a window for everybody. We'll see how that goes. Over to, who's next then? Paget Rangers, Trevor Choi. Well, what can we say? A little bit of work, but as I said, between Paget Rangers and the next one, which is, no, I'll come, and one coming up, you'll see what their plan of action is. Perfectico Madrid then, from Noel. Well, he's got himself a great few players. He needs depth. He needs depth. No doubt about that. Over to Sam's Bastards. Sam's Bastards, look at them. Let's check these injuries. Obviously, as I said, these are random when they start, but they'll be ready for the new season. Etexberry is a great player. Finidi was, again, a bit interesting. I did look at Tim Howard. I thought he got a good deal there, Sam. Over to Lee Sharples. Sharps Shooters. He's got himself a good old team there. He's got himself a... Although I think he's a little bit heavy on right wing there. So I think realistically, depending on what formation you're going to play, Lee, you're essentially going to need a left winger. You really are going to need a left winger, aren't you? Okay, the bin men have just turned up. Fucking obstructing my light. Okay, who's after Lee then? Who's after Lee? Soylent Green, Almo, Evesham from the forums. Again, he's got some good players there in the likes of Robbie Keane, Alex, Van der Sar, NDI, but he needs depth. He's absolutely desperate for depth. Over to Sunday Striker. So this is Philippe Derala. Only 4 Mingy players, but he's still got a bomb of money. So between him and Pageant Rangers, I'm going to keep an eye on those fuckers. And finally then, Trump Towers, Miga Dante. There was a player that I picked up on this, that he picked up on a free transfer. It was that guy there, injury prone. I looked at him and I thought, why has nobody gone for him? Then I realised he had an injury prone of 18. I mean, he picked him up on a free transfer, so I would say Mr. Dante spotted that. But, you know, and it's not the greatest position in the world, but if you're a free transfer, you know, he could be one of the randomly selected players at the end of the season for a CPU bid. Who knows? Who knows? As I said, more to be confirmed. Ronaldo, injury prone 16. He's got to be careful on that. So that's it, guys. That is the King of the Dugout, part 1. Let me know your views. Let me know your views on this bad boy. I'll show you briefly, if I can. Yeah. If I scroll up, you're going to start seeing people's bids, because they've already started coming through. That is the auction for auction 6. Bids have started coming in. So I'm interested to know what people's perspective is in their views, how they do it. They can only bid for 5 players, and their total 5 bids must not exceed what they've got left in their bank. When I first looked at that, when Mark Whittaker sent me it, there's always some Mark's done the auction's so spot on. There's players there that catch your eye instantly. For me, you look at that list, right? Depends on what position you need, of course, but Ashley Cole, Nedved, Hoffland, you know, there's a few. I mean, I looked at Taibbi. Taibbi's a fucking great goalkeeper. Jardel. There's some absolute great players. And it's always interesting because somebody may have had, for example, Andy Cole. I don't really know much about Andy Cole on ODB. Someone might think he's a goal machine, and they'll get him. They'll bid for him. But the bidding is fucking brilliant. It's so competitive. It's great. That's it from me, guys. Stay tuned, and we will update that again soon. Till next time, it's Take It Easy.